Hi there. Welcome to the 2025 Beachman 64 Owner's Manual video. My name's Ben. I'm one of the founders of the business, and today I'm going to walk you through head to toe on your brand new Beachman 64. This video is for the 2025 edition, so if you have a 2024 or older, head to our website, look for a video that matches your bike. We're going to start at the front of the bike today. We're going to work our way to the back. We're going to talk about all the essential information, how to get it running, how to take care of it, and tips and tricks that we've learned over the years of owning these things. Located here on your bike on what's called the headstock is the VIN and information plate for your bike. So you should record that down as soon as you get your bike. You're also going to receive a build card that comes with every Beachman, and this will ship with your bike. It includes your VIN, it includes your personal information, it shows what you ordered, and you can see the name of the technician that built your bike. You can also see right here, this Beachman logo is our quality checking stamp, which shows that this bike was tested by 2 different individuals. It was looked over on our 64-point inspection check, and it is good to go. It's a happy bike. So make sure that you write that VIN number down in case you ever have to report a theft or you want to register your bike. It's information you don't want to miss. We do generally have backups at Beachman, but it's always good to have it on your own terms. Coming along with your bike as well, we have the keys. Every Beachman comes with 2 sets of keys, and each set contains 3 key pieces. We have your Beachman key, which is used for the ignition, both to turn your bike on and to activate the turn lock by going counterclockwise. You have your battery key, and you have your key fob. The key fob activates the security system. You can lock it, unlock it, or you can double tap this middle button to remotely start the bike. And you can ride around without the keys needing to be in the ignition. Generally, I don't recommend doing that. All it's going to do is make it more likely that you lose your keys. But it is very useful when you're doing test rides with your friends and family and showing them the bike. If someone is maybe unfamiliar with riding, as long as they're riding on the remote start and you hold the keys, if they were to tip over or lose control, you can very easily turn the bike off with the unlock button. When you insert the key, you have 2 options. You can either turn it clockwise to turn the bike on, or from the off position, you can push the key in and then turn left, activating the steering lock. Steering lock is one of the key safety features, or I should say security features, on this bike that's going to prevent it from being stolen or otherwise messed with. It's a very standard motorcycle feature. It is not invincible. Doesn't matter how big or expensive your bike is. 2 determined thieves could potentially come up and break that lock and take it away. But for pulling up at a coffee shop, stopping in a park, it is the perfect level of security to stop someone from rolling away with your bike, because if it's stuck turning to the left, it's just going to go in circles. The other key safety features are security features. Aside from the alarm and the turning lock, the next level of security would be the kryptonite chain lock, which we have another video about how to use that on a Beachman, but I recommend that 100% of our riders use it. It comes with a $5,000 theft protection and is also just the best damn lock you can buy, and it's going to stop people from stealing your bike. Not necessarily because it's invincible, but because it's way more work than every other lock on your block to get into as a thief, so they're just going to skip your bike and go somewhere else. A key thing to remember with your Beachman keys is as soon as you get your bike at your house, make sure that you split this into 2 separate sets, a daily use one and a backup one, and keep that backup set somewhere safe in your house, because it is not fun to lose both sets of keys. And it would not be the first time that someone just didn't do that and they lose both sets at the same time, and then we got to rekey your whole bike. So just be safe, split them into 2 sets, get them in a drawer somewhere, and leave them there for the day that you really need them. So let's start off at the front. Right up front, we've got the tires and rims. Your Beachman comes with some awesome high-quality tires on it. They're DOT approved, and they're rated for many, many years of use. We've actually yet to have anyone replace their bike tires from wear, but of course it will happen eventually when someone gets really keen on riding. The key information with your tires is to keep them pumped. The tires on a Beachman are generally a 3.5-inch width by 18-inch diameter tire, and they're tubed, which means that inside of this tire is a tube that fills up with air just like in a bicycle tire. It's very important to keep these pumped up to their recommended PSI, which is 35 PSI on these guys, to ensure that the tube inside of the tire doesn't pop. That's the most common problem that riders have is they forget. They pump their tire like once in a season, and then you're out for a ride and you get a flat, and it's not a fun thing to deal with on a bike this big. So definitely, once a month, get that tire pump out, either an automatic one. We use the Milwaukee portables here, or even just a regular bike pump, as long as it's got that PSI gauge, and you can get that PSI up to a safe amount and make sure it stays that way so that you're happy riding all summer long. The brakes are next on this thing. So Beachman 64s come with front and back hydraulically activated disc brakes, very high end. They're designed for bikes that are in a much higher weight class than this, so you will notice right away that the stopping power on a Beachman is fantastic. At the 32 kilometer an hour e-bike speed, the stopping distance is like 5 feet. So definitely, brake with care. You never need to grip them too hard. And generally, they're mostly maintenance free. You're going to need to replace those brake pads once every few years. But as I mentioned, these brakes are designed for a bike that's like twice as heavy. So with that overbuilt quality comes, overbuilt durability. So they will last for quite a while. As we move a little further back, your headlight here, your turn signals, and your heads-up display. The key information with the controls up here is that 99% of it is the same as a regular motorcycle or moped, with the exception being that, of course, as an electric bike, there's no clutch. You have 2 handbrakes up here, and there's nothing going on with your feet. You get to just ride and relax. There's no gears. There's just throttle and go. For those of you using your Beachman as an e-bike, this is the e-bike compliance sticker. You may be required to present this at some point, and that's where it is located on the front of your frame. The handlebar area of your bike is the control center of your Beachman. I'm going to go through every function up here, and this is a key part to pay attention to because this is the view you're going to see every day when you're riding, and it's how you're going to engage with your bike every day. When you start your bike up, your HUD's going to boot up, and we're going to see how the HUD interacts with all of these as I go through the bike. Let's start on the right-hand side with the most important controls. This button right here is the most important button on your bike. It's the kill switch. This is what allows you to safely engage with the bike when it's at a standstill, like it is right now up on this stand. I can grab this throttle and with full confidence, turn it, and I know nothing's going to happen. There's actually a slight beeping noise that happens when you engage the throttle in this mode to let you know that your bike is not going to move until you turn it on. You see that green ready light turn on, and now if I were to pull this, the bike will shoot away. Down below the kill switch, this button here will have no function when you get your bike. It has a use for when we install sidecars on Beachmans, and we activate this to do something that right now doesn't happen on a regular bike. So you won't have to worry about that button. Here, you have your light controls. All the way down turns your headlight off. When you turn it up to 1, the ring light activates, and when you turn it up to the second activation, your whole headlight is on. Here on the other handlebar, you can see your high beam and low beam controls. Right now it's down in the low beam setting, and when we turn it up to high beam, that activates, and you're going to see the blue high beam indicator. Make sure that you're only using this when there's no cars ahead of you. On top of your lights, you also have your signals here. Signaling left will turn on the indicators, as well as show the indicator on the HUD. Turning it to the right, of course, will set up your right signal. It's very important when you ride your bike every day to just do a quick check and make sure that your front and rear turn signals are in fact working before you get out there in the street, as riding around with a turn signal that is not functioning is of course a super dangerous thing to do. You need to remember to return your turn signal to the center yourself. In a car, turn signals automatically turn off, but when you're riding on a bike, you have to do that work yourself, and so it's a very common beginner mistake to be riding around signaling left for 10 minutes while every car behind you is very confused. So best to avoid that, and remember to just keep a habit of returning it to the center. Finally, we have your throttle and your brakes. Your throttle on your Beachman is a twist activated. It's very sensitive, but it's also very gentle and gradual. You'll get used to it within a few minutes of riding. And as I mentioned, it's very important to use the kill switch when you're not intending to throttle your bike. Your brakes are on your front hands. You have your front brake here on the right and your rear brake on the left. It's very important to use them gently, to use them evenly, And also important to avoid trying to use 2 fingers or 1 finger. You always should brake with all the fingers you're able to grasp with, because on a bike, you're either accelerating or you're braking, but you're never doing them both at the same time. On the front brake chambers here, there's a little window that allows you to see your brake fluid, and that will show you if it needs to be topped up. If your brakes are feeling spongy or loose, usually one of them will be more so than others. You can also take your Beachman into a local motorcycle mechanic, and they can perform a brake bleed procedure, which will get the air out of your system and increase that hydraulic tightness again. When you first turn on your bike, it boots up, and it will very quickly show 1 kilometer right now, which is the total lifetime mileage of the bike. This bike is brand new, so it's showing 1 kilometer, but yours will show however far you've driven. After you turn the bike on, a few seconds goes by, it will reset to 0, which is showing you your trip odometer, which is how far you'll drive on today's ride, and resets every time you turn the bike off and on. But that lifetime odometer will always display for a few seconds when you first turn it on. Other key information on your bike is going to be the battery gauge, the speedometer, and there's a line of indicators which we'll go over here momentarily. Starting with the battery, you can see the bike is currently at 73 volts, which is just about halfway. The minimum battery on a Beachman is 64 volts, which is easy to remember, and the maximum battery is 84 volts. So that 20 volt range is where your bike will be at all times, with 74 being about the midpoint. So once you drop below 70 volts, that's when you're going to start thinking about turning around and heading home, as you're now in the lower third of your power. The other things that are key for the heads-up display are showing you things like your turn signals. You can see the green lights activating when you turn left and right. You can see when you deactivate the kill switch, the ready light turns on. That will turn on when you reactivate the kill switch or when you apply the brakes. You'll see that kill notification showing up there. That will also be indicating that when the bikes are pulled, you cannot throttle the bike. It won't allow you to do both, and it's a common safety feature that's on every single Beachman. Other indicators, when you turn your lights on and activate the high beam, you will see the blue high beam light turn on. And when your battery is running low on power, this little gas gauge will show up here. It will light up red, and that indicates that you need to get your bike charged as soon as possible. There are also other lights that can show up on your heads-up display if there's an issue. A common one will show the letter M in a circle. That indicates that there's an issue with your motor or controller. Give us a call if you see that icon come up. And of course, when you're done riding for the day, you're going to turn your bike off, and that HUD is going to turn back off. Moving further back, we have the gas tank and the seat. Gas tank and seat are pretty easy to remove. When people are changing out the speed mode on their bike, or if you just want to change out your seat and tank to change the look. The way we designed the Beachman is that the entire frame is black, every detail on this bike, with the exception of the tank and the seat. So just changing out these 2 pieces will absolutely transform the look of your bike, and it is common to pick up extra seats and tanks, and people will switch them around to change with the seasons or your outfit or whatever. It's fun to have, a bunch of different motorbikes in one by just changing that out. And you can check out our website or send us an email to inquire about buying extras. About $150, I think, for these pieces. Now, as we head further back on the bike, the next important thing is your battery. Here is your Beachman battery box. This is the heart of your bike. It's what keeps your battery safe and connected to your bike. When you need to charge your battery remotely or do some troubleshooting, sometimes you need to access this. The way to do that is by opening this latch. The first thing that you need to remember is that you can also add an additional lock here through this loop for extra security, but it's not necessary as there's also a lock on the inside. You undo the latch, open up the door, and here you have your battery. There's a few key features I'm going to walk through. Starting at the bottom, we have one of the 2 handles, which allows you to pull it out. Here, you have the keyhole for your battery box lock, which will ensure that your battery is locked right into the box so that it can't be removed by a thief. You have your charge port here, which is what you're going to use to charge it in your house if you're going to be plugging it into the charger. Right here is the voltage and battery capacity meter. When you press this button here, you're able to see the voltage of your battery, which should always line up with the one in your heads-up display. And lastly, on the top, we have on the right, your breaker. On the left, your power cord. And in the middle, it is a second handle like this one to allow you to pick the battery up. I'm going to show you the process for removing and placing your battery back in. In order to do so, you need to grab your battery key, which is the one that does not have the Beachman logo. You're going to insert it, unlock it from the frame, and then you can use the handle to pull the battery out. When you first pull it out, you want to make sure that it's about 3 inches out, just like this, exposing the cord. Now, it's very important to remember that before we go touching this high voltage system, we want to shut off the breaker. So we're going to do that by putting it back into the off position. A good way to remember if the breaker is on or off is that when you turn a breaker on, it has a lot of resistance and it's difficult to do. But when you turn a breaker off, it just flips back very easily. Once the breaker is turned off, you are safe to grab your connector and pull it out just like that. You can leave it to the side, and when you remove your battery, the cable will hang down in there. When you're putting back in the box, sometimes it's easy to just tuck the cable up under there so it's out of the way. The important thing to remember when plugging your battery back in after charging is that when you plug your cable in, you have to insert it quite firmly. If you leave it like this, the bike may work in terms of turning on, but the throttle will not go because the connection is not secure. So make sure you really push it down in and get that solid connection. Once you've done that, then you're okay to turn your breaker back into the on position. Maybe just check your voltage out, make sure that it's charged, and then we're going to just gently push that back into the box. And finally, we're going to lock it in place with the key. Once that's done, all that's left to do is close that door back up and put that latch back into the closed position. For those of you that have a garage or something that allows you to charge your bike using the external port while it's safely indoors, you can access it through here. This is the external charge port that allows you to interface with the charger. When storing your battery in the winter, it's best to charge it up once every 2 or 3 months. Leaving it longer than that, allowing it to fully discharge, can also allow individual cells inside of the battery to completely die. And if they do, it's very difficult to revive them, and you're going to need to send your battery to a professional who will open it up and try to revive them. But simply charging them, once every 60 to 90 days will avoid that situation and make sure that your battery is in perfect health coming out of the winter storage season. Let's talk about kickstands. We have 2 of them on the bike, and they both have different functions, so we'll go over those now. Right now, I have the standard kickstand activated, which is generally the one you're going to be using every day when you get on and off the bike. It's located on the left-hand side, and just like a bicycle, you just bring it up with your foot. When you're done riding, you're just going to kick that down. You're going to lean to your left-hand side, dismount the bike. It's very important to always get on and off the bike on the same side as the kickstand. You never want to be getting on the far side because it doesn't allow you to make sure that the bike is going to be safely leaning over to the left. Now, when you're leaving your bike for an extended period of time, or you want to display it in your home, for instance, and reduce the risk of somebody coming up and tipping the bike over, of course, that's when you're going to use the midstand. It's located here. It's spring-loaded as well. And in order to use it, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to grab the rear bar. For some people, you might want to use 2 hands. For the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to be using 1. First thing you do is you're going to bring your kickstand back up so the bike is freestanding. You can see, even with the bike's weight, it's pretty easy to maneuver around with 1 hand. You're going to grab both hands onto the bar. You're going to put your foot down until it touches the ground like this. The important thing to do is we're not pulling backwards and we're not arching our back and going like this, because as you know, lifting with your back is never fun, especially when you're lifting a motorbike. So we're going to grab down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to push down into our foot while we pull up and slightly to the back using our legs and our hips to lift. So here we go, just like that. It rolls back, the center stand goes down, and now the bike is secure with the rear wheel off of the ground. This is also really useful when you're trying to troubleshoot your bike, because when the rear is down, what it allows you to do is run the rear wheel safely off the ground. When you're done with your bike being up on the lift and you want to return to riding, what you're going to do is go to the rear. You're going to firmly place 1 hand on the rear bar, You're gonna place the other one on the handlebar, and all you have to do is roll it forward. There you go. Your bike's free. Put down that kickstand, and now you're ready to get back on and get riding. As we move further down the bike, we're gonna get to your swing arm. This is a key part of the frame, and it's what connects the rear end of the bike to the frame. The swing arm is able to actuate, especially when the shocks are compressed when you're going over bumps. Sometimes a key tip that you might need to know is that a squeaking noise can come from this section of the bike. Right here is your swing arm axle bolt. This is what actually holds it onto the frame. This bolt, for many reasons, has a safety feature where it is self-tightening. So over time, as this moves, the bolt, when it's squiggling, will actually become tighter, ensuring that the opposite cannot happen, where it suddenly comes out and the back half of your bike just flies off. That just simply can't happen. But the trade-off from that is that sometimes this bolt tightens itself so much it begins to make a squeaking noise from the extra torque. So a great owner's tip is, once in a while, if you do hear that squeak, you just go in with an adjustable wrench. You'll need one here and one on the other side, and you're just gonna loosen that a quarter or an eighth of a turn, and it will just completely eliminate that sound. As we move back further, we can see your pedals here. Pedals, in fact, do work on every Beachman. Of course, it is an e-bike, and they have a convenient feature where they flip open and can flip back down. So I'll show you that again. The way it works is you can flip it open like that. You use the pedals as you see fit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to push it in and then down, and then it gets out of the way nicely. 2025 Beachman is legal as a Class 2 e-bike in most jurisdictions in North America. There are some exceptions, such as British Columbia, Quebec, California, where e-bike reform has pushed to be more bicycle focused. So, but for most existing jurisdictions, riding a Beachman respectfully at that 32 kilometer an hour, 20 mile an hour speed with the pedals, it's totally compliant. It's a great bike to ride around your neighborhood. Keep the pedals on unless you register your bike as a moped, because otherwise the fines can be pretty tricky and pretty significant if you're riding around on what is essentially a motorcycle. Here you have your passenger pegs. They flip down like that. There's one on each side, and they're what allow your passenger to comfortably sit on the back. We recommend that when you don't have a passenger, flip them back out of the way. Just gets your bike a little sleeker, less things to catch on. So the Beachman 64 is absolutely capable and happy having two riders. However, we do have a maximum weight limit of about 350 pounds. Plus that, you might experience bottoming out on the rear wheel when going over bumps, or just difficulty getting up hills and stuff, as there is a limit to the power of the bike. But at 350 and under, it'll be a great riding experience for you and whoever your passenger is. And it's a lot of fun to be able to pick up someone and go around town. So there's passenger pegs on both sides. A riding tip for people who are having a passenger for the first time is your passenger should sit on the rear, put their feet up on the pegs, wrap their arms around you so that they're on there securely. And the key thing for the passenger is they never need to put their feet down. If the passenger keeps trying to put their legs down or try to put them to help balance and stuff, it ends up just being very distracting for the main rider. And it's not necessarily. You are the pilot, you're in control of the bike, your passenger is just there to enjoy the ride. And it's a lot easier on everyone if they just kind of remain in that position. Moving further back, rear and front shocks are standard kind of 1980s Honda style shocks, very easy to service and replace. They should last you the lifetime of your bike. But if you do notice anything off, give us a call. You have your motor right here, which is in the rear hub of the bike. The hub motor is a 3K, 3,000 watt motor, about nominal 1,500 peak 3K. It is limited down to either 500 or 750 watts in e-bike mode, depending on what jurisdiction the bike is in. And it's about 1,500, 2,000 watts in moped mode. Another common sound that can happen from a Beachman, similar to the squeaking that happens up on the swing arm bolt, is going to be coming from the brake caliper and rotor. Sometimes when you're riding, and usually on a new bike, you can hear a high-pitched squealing sound that's not too loud coming from this area of the bike. What's causing that is a microscopic imperfection on the surface that is rubbing against the brake rotor here and creating that sound. There is a common product called D-Squeak, or under a few other names. We have it here at Beachman. Basically what it is, it's a spray. We have it here. It's kind of like microscopic sandpaper that you spray out of a can. It goes on here and it will wear down that surface of the brake pad to be totally flat and even, and all that sound will go away. A key part of maintenance on the motor and brake system is ensuring that the motor nuts are tight on both sides of the axle. The procedure to ensure they're tight is twofold. First of all, you're going to remove the locking nut and then expose the main motor nut. You're going to use a size 24 ratchet or a wrench to tighten it to a strong hand tighten, basically as tight as you can get it. And then you're going to put the locking nut back on, tighten that as well, and do that again on the other side. Once that's done, you've ensured that your motor and brake system are going to be secure for the riding season. This is something you should check at the beginning and the end of each season, and is key because on a hub-based electric bike or motorcycle, there's a lot of torque being expressed through the frame that normally would be happening on the motor and through the chain, but instead is going to be active in this bolt system right here. So it's very important that these nuts are as tight as they can be. The last couple things here on the rear of the bike are the grab bar, which is essential for getting your bike up and down from the mid stand located down here, which you can see we currently have the bike up on the mid stand. So this is holding your plate, which will generally come with the classic Beachman Cali style e-bike plate, and you will replace with your actual registered license plate if you do register your Beachman as a moped. It has your left and right turn signals as well as the required DOT reflectors. The bike includes a year warranty in the powertrain, which covers the motor, the battery, the control unit, which is located under here and kind of communicates and distributes that power, and the heads-up display and the throttle. Those are the key systems that allow your bike to go. So for the first year of ownership, your bike is covered completely. If it stops going, we will cover all the costs associated with getting your bike running again. You're also able to purchase an extended warranty from Beachman. I believe right now it's $7.99, and that covers 3 years on all the parts on the bike. Obviously not against like breaking or dropping your bike, but against part failure, as well as $200 towards your first tow. So if you do get stranded, which can happen with any vehicle, we have got you covered with that extended warranty. Throughout the season, you're going to experience all sorts of elements on your Beachman. If you go through a rainstorm, I always recommend to give your bike a wipe down, especially around your tank, as well as down around the chain and pedal area and up here near the heads-up display. Obviously, the bike is powder coated and treated for weather, but it's a piece of metal, and like anything, it will have some impact from water, salt, and other exposure to the elements. A key thing that we recommend as well is just covering your bike. We sell a dust cover as well as a totally waterproof all seasons cover, and I personally put one on my Beachman every day, and it's in amazing condition as a result. Even if you're storing it indoors, just reducing the exposure to, brake dust and other, environmental hazards that are coming off of cars if you're in a parking garage or something like that, or reducing the odds of someone accidentally spilling paint or something on your bike. Always recommended to just cover it up and keep it safe. So let's talk about riding, common road hazards. I think this is a really key thing. As always, I recommend to watch the Not So Easy motorcycle safety training video that's going to be probably right above this on our owner's manual page. But some stuff that they might not mention in there, especially riding in urban areas, are some very key hazards for riding your bike. Number one is always going to be things like gravel, loose leaves, and potholes, those classic road hazards that if you're not looking, you can end up hitting and having a spill, which is not fun. But some other important ones in the city are other cyclists. It's actually very common for Beachman riders to be bumped into or sideswiped by a bicycle. As bicycle riders are generally not always the most careful, and that can end up with you falling over and having a pretty decent accident where the biker will ride away scot-free. In terms of safety with cars, also always watching for cars and trucks pulling out of underground parking garages and parking lots and other driveways that are located on busy downtown streets, as there's so much going on that drivers will often miss riders on bicycles and e-bikes and motorcycles and pull out in front of them. And last but certainly not least, streetcar tracks. Very important to be aware when you're riding on a road with streetcar tracks, because the width of a tire of a small size bike like this is capable of being impeded or sinking into the streetcar rail line. If that happens, you're probably going down. It's very easy to avoid. They're right there in the road in front of you. But especially when you're going around corners, if there are curved streetcar tracks, you always want to make sure that you're taking a different turning angle slightly so that your bike does not line up with the rail, which would catch in your wheel and cause you to fall over. When using your brakes, it's very important to always apply them equally and evenly. Like with a bicycle, it's never a good idea to just slam on one of your brakes because it can cause you to skid out, especially if it's your rear tire, and fall over. Generally, with motorcycles, mopeds, and larger e-bikes like this, you always want to favor the front brake over the rear. On a bicycle, of course, that's the opposite, because if you slam your front brake, you can flip head over heels. But on something this heavy, it's not the case. Instead, what's going to happen is your suspension is going to compress on your front tire, and it's going to give you a really strong and powerful braking force. Again, best combined with an equal application of the rear brake, but if you're going to slam one, the front is always the better one to be stronger in, maybe a 60-40 ratio. One last great tip for regular maintenance on your bike is the seasonal once-over. If you're in Toronto, you can come to the Beachman headquarters, or if there's a Beachman dealer in your town, they'll be happy to help you out with a spring tune-up. For those of you who are doing it at home, the easy thing to remember is that when the season starts, you're going to check your tire pressure, you're going to give it a once-over clean, you're going to tighten those motor nuts, and then you're going to go through your bike and just tighten up all the little bolts that you see. You'll need a couple different socket sets and some Allen keys. Just make sure that everything is nice and tight. It might have loosened up, especially if there was a cold winter, causing the metal to expand and contract. And then your bike is nice and fit and ready for riding. Well, I think that's everything about your bike. There's always more to learn, so follow us on social media and our email list for updates and new tips and tricks about the bike. And my last message to you is please always, always wear a DOT or ECE certified motorcycle helmet when riding a Beachman. It is very important to protect yourself. There is nothing cool about riding a bike without a helmet. Even if your state or local jurisdiction allows it, it is a risk that is simply not worth taking. So please keep your eyes on the road, keep the helmet on your head, and ride safe. See you on the road.